"Daddy, don't sign the divorce," begged his daughter as he held the pen in his hand. David clutched the pen with trembling hands while staring fixedly at the divorce papers scattered across the dark wooden desk in the office. 3 months of fights, sleepless nights and silent arguments had led to this moment, one he never imagined he would face. That's when he felt 2 tiny hands touch his left arm. Looking down, he saw Emma, his 5-year-old daughter, her blonde hair tied in 2 pigtails and wearing her favorite pink dress. The little girl's blue eyes were filled with tears. "Daddy, don't sign those papers," she whispered in his ear, standing on her tiptoes to reach him. "Emma, sweetheart, how did you get in here?" David asked, startled. The attorney's office was on the 10th floor of a commercial building in downtown Charlotte. "I took the elevator just like you, Daddy. I saw when you left the house with that folder." David looked at Jennifer, his wife of 8 years, who sat across the table. She wore a navy blue business suit and maintained a cold, almost indifferent expression. Not even their daughter's unexpected presence seemed to shake her resolve. "Jennifer, did you know she was following me?" David asked. "It's not my responsibility to watch her every move, David. You should have paid attention," she replied curtly, scrolling through her phone. Jennifer's attorney, a middle-aged woman with thick glasses, cleared her throat impatiently. "Mr. David, we need to finalize this today. It's almost 5 in the afternoon and I have other appointments." Emma tightened her grip on her father's arm. "Daddy, I heard Mommy on the phone yesterday. She said she was taking all our things away and that we were going to live far from here." David's heart raced. That detail wasn't in the documents. According to the proposed agreement, Emma would stay with her mother only on alternating weekends, but would remain in the same city. "Jennifer, what is she talking about?" he asked, dropping the pen on the desk. "Emma is 5, David. Kids make up all sorts of things." But the little girl insisted. "I'm not making it up, Daddy. Mommy told Aunt Rebecca that after you signed the papers, we were moving to New York City so she could work at a new company." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. Jennifer's expression changed completely. For the first time in weeks, David saw a flicker of nervousness in her eyes. "Emma, go play over there in the corner. The adults are talking about boring things," Jennifer said, struggling to keep her tone even. "I want to stay with Daddy," the little girl declared, hugging David tightly. David took a deep breath and pushed the papers away. "I need more time to think about this. I'm not signing today." "David, be reasonable. You already agreed to all the terms last week," the attorney interjected. "That was before I found out my daughter might be taken to another state without my knowledge." Jennifer slammed her hand on the table, irritated. "You're being dramatic. I have the right to work wherever I want." "And I have the right to know where my daughter will live," David shot back, lifting Emma into his arms. The attorney sighed heavily. "Let's reschedule for next week then. But you two need to settle these issues beforehand. We can't stay in limbo forever." On the drive home, Emma stayed quiet in the back seat. David watched her in the rearview mirror, noticing how she nervously fidgeted with her favorite doll. "Sweetheart, how did you know I was going to sign those papers?" he asked gently. "I heard you crying in the bathroom yesterday morning, Dad. Then I saw you putting those papers in the folder. And Mom was really happy when you left the house today." David felt a tightness in his chest. Emma was far too observant for a 5-year-old, maybe even too much so. She was absorbing all the tension that had hung over the house these past few weeks. When they got home, a small house in a quiet neighborhood, David noticed Jennifer had arrived before them. Her car was in the garage, but the lights inside were off. "Where's Mom, Dad?" "She must be resting in the bedroom, Emma." But when they walked in, they found Jennifer in the living room, speaking quietly on the phone. She hung up quickly when she saw them. "Who were you talking to?" David asked. "No one important. Work stuff." Emma ran off to her room and David took the chance to confront Jennifer. "Jennifer, we need to talk seriously. This whole move to New York City, is it really happening?" Jennifer avoided looking directly at him. "David, we've talked about this 1,000 times. Our marriage is over. There's no point pretending everything's fine. But that doesn't mean you can take Emma away from me without warning. I'm not taking her far. New York City is just a few hours from here. You can visit whenever you want." David could tell she wasn't being completely honest. There was something in her voice, a hesitation he knew well after years of marriage. "Jennifer, look at me and tell me the truth. What's the real reason for this separation?" She finally met his eyes, and David saw tears forming in hers. "I can't take it anymore, David. I can't take this life, this routine, this feeling that I'm wasting my best years." "But we were happy, Jennifer. At least I thought we were." "You thought that because you were content with your little life as a teacher, teaching math at the public school, coming home, eating dinner, watching TV, going to bed, the same thing every day." David felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Jennifer had never spoken with such resentment about the life they'd built together. "I thought you liked our life. You never complained about my job before." "Because I kept trying to convince myself it was fine. But it's not, David. I'm 32 and I feel like I'm slowly dying in this life." Just then, Emma appeared in the living room wearing her unicorn pajamas, clutching her doll. "Why are you guys yelling again?" she asked in a whiny voice. David and Jennifer exchanged glances, realizing they'd forgotten to keep their voices down. "We're not yelling, sweetheart. Come here," David said, opening his arms. Emma ran to him and curled up in his lap. "Dad, why doesn't Mom like living with us anymore?" The innocent question hit Jennifer like an arrow. She sank into the armchair across from the couch and began crying silently. "Sweetheart, it's not that Mom doesn't like living with us," David explained, stroking his daughter's hair. "Sometimes grown-ups get confused about what they want in life." "But I don't want you to split up," Emma said, looking at her mother. "Mom, can't you be happy here with us again?" Jennifer stood abruptly. "I'll make dinner," she murmured, heading to the kitchen. David was left alone with Emma in the living room. The little girl played with her doll's hair, but he could tell she was listening to every sound from the kitchen. "Dad, if you guys split up, can I choose where to live?" "Why are you asking that, sweetheart?" "Because I want to live where both of you are. I don't want to live just with Mom or just with you." David felt his eyes grow damp. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that the adult world was more complicated than she imagined? "Emma, no matter what happens, Mommy and I will always love you very much. That will never change. But if you love each other and love me, why can't you stay together?" Before David could answer, Jennifer's phone rang in the kitchen. He heard her answer with a cheerful, "Hello," very different from the melancholy tone she had used throughout their conversation. "Hi, Rebecca." "Yes, I was waiting for your call." "No, I haven't settled everything yet, but it's almost done." David decided to go to the kitchen to hear the conversation better. Emma followed him, curious. "I know you said the position at the company won't stay open for long." "Yes, I understand it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Jennifer had her back to them, stirring a pot on the stove while talking on speakerphone. David stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, processing what he was hearing. "Of course I want to start a new life. You're right. I deserve to be happy." "No, David hasn't signed the papers yet, but he will next week." Emma tugged her father's shirt and whispered, "That's Aunt Rebecca I told you about, Daddy." David felt a mix of sadness and anger. Apparently, Jennifer had already planned the entire separation with this friend's help, including a move to another city that he didn't even know about. Jennifer noticed their presence and quickly ended the call. "Rebecca, I'll call you back later, okay? Bye." She turned to them with a defensive expression. "David, it's not what you're thinking." "Then explain it to me, Jennifer. Because to me, it sounds like you've had everything planned for weeks, including leaving me in the dark about where our daughter will live." Emma looked back and forth between them, clearly frightened by the tension in the air. "I can explain everything after Emma goes to bed," Jennifer said, avoiding direct eye contact with David. During dinner, the atmosphere was heavy. Emma ate little and played with her food. Jennifer remained silent, while David tried to maintain some normalcy. "Emma, aren't you going to eat your potatoes?" David asked, trying to sound cheerful. "I'm not hungry, Daddy." "You need to eat to grow up strong and healthy." "I don't want to grow up if when I do, I'll have to choose between you and Mommy." Emma's statement left her parents speechless. Jennifer dropped her fork and left the table without a word. Dear listener, If you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. After putting Emma to bed, David found Jennifer on the back porch, staring at the small garden they had planted together when they moved into the house. "Now you can explain this whole situation properly," David said, sitting in the chair beside her. Jennifer took a deep breath before speaking. "David, Rebecca is the HR coordinator at the company where I worked in New York City before we got married. She called me 2 weeks ago, offering a financial manager position. And you didn't think it was important to talk to me about it? Because I knew you'd try to talk me out of it. You always do when a better opportunity comes my way." David was confused by the accusation. "Jennifer, when have I ever done that? When the private school offered me the curriculum coordinator position, you said I should think twice because Emma was still too young. When the Raleigh School District opened the supervisor position, you said the daily commute wasn't worth the stress." David vaguely remembered those situations, but never thought Jennifer had interpreted his comments as attempts to sabotage her. "Jennifer, I was just trying to be practical. I never meant to hold back your career." "But you did, David. Every time an opportunity came up, you'd find a reason for me not to try. And I always ended up agreeing with you because I loved you and wanted to keep our family together. And now you don't love me anymore." Jennifer stayed silent for a long time, staring at the stars beginning to appear in the sky. "I don't know anymore, David. All I know is I'm suffocating here. I feel like I've become a shadow of who I was before we got married." David tried to process everything he was hearing. It was true he'd given his opinions about Jennifer's career opportunities, but he always thought he was being a caring husband, not controlling. "Jennifer, if I did anything to hurt you, I'm sorry. I never meant to make you feel this way." "I know you didn't mean to, David. You're a good person. But that doesn't change the fact that I feel trapped in this life." Just then, they heard a noise coming from Emma's room. David quickly got up to check. He found the little girl sitting on the bed, crying softly. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Did you have a bad dream?" "Daddy, I heard you talking. Is Mommy really leaving for New York City?" David looked back and saw Jennifer standing in the doorway. The three of them stayed there, caught in a heavy silence. "Emma, come here," Jennifer said, moving toward the bed. The girl reached out and Jennifer picked her up. "Sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups have to make hard decisions, but that doesn't mean I'm abandoning you or that I'll ever stop loving you." "But why can't you just work here in Charlotte?" "Because there aren't the same opportunities here for me to grow in my career, Emma." "And why can't Daddy come with us?" Jennifer and David exchanged glances. It was a simple question, but it cut right to the heart of the problem. "Because Daddy has his job here, sweetheart. He teaches at the school and loves what he does." Emma thought for a moment. "But aren't there schools in New York City where Daddy could work?" David sat on the bed beside them. "There are, Emma, but it would be complicated for Daddy to get another job there." "Why would it be complicated?" David realized he was being challenged by a child's simple logic. Why would it be complicated? He had a degree in math, years of teaching experience, and always got along well with his students. "Emma, why don't we talk about this again tomorrow? Right now you need to sleep," Jennifer said, trying to change the subject. "I'll only sleep if you promise you won't separate this week." David and Jennifer looked at each other again. It was a hard bargain to refuse. "Okay, sweetheart. We promise we won't make any decisions this week," David said. "Do you swear?" "We swear," they both answered at once. Emma finally lay down, and David tucked her in. "Daddy, can you sing that song you used to sing when I was little?" David smiled. Emma always asked for the same lullaby he'd made up when she was a baby. "My little princess, close your eyes. Dream of flowers in the skies. Mommy and Daddy are right here, watching over you, my dear." As David sang softly, Jennifer watched from the foot of the bed. There was something in her eyes he hadn't seen in months, a mix of nostalgia and tenderness. When Emma finally fell asleep, they returned to the porch. "David, I need to tell you something," Jennifer said, sounding more serious than before. "What is it?" "Rebecca isn't just a co-worker. She was my girlfriend in college before I met you. David felt like the ground had vanished beneath his feet. Jennifer, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to be honest with you about everything. Rebecca and I reconnected a few months ago when she came to Charlotte for a company meeting. We talked a lot about the past, about the dreams we had when we were young. You're having an affair? Jennifer shook her head quickly. No, it's not like that, David. But I won't lie and say I didn't feel a connection with her. A connection to the person I was before I got married, before I became a mother, before I lost myself in this routine. David fell silent, trying to process the information. Part of him wanted to be furious, but another part felt more sadness than anger. So all this dissatisfaction with our marriage has to do with her? Not exactly. The dissatisfaction was already there, David. Rebecca just made me realize I was accepting a life that didn't make me completely happy. And what does that mean for us? It means I need to figure out who I am outside this marriage. I need the chance to explore who I can be. David stood up and walked into the garden. The plants they had nurtured together seemed mockingly lush under the moonlight. Jennifer, you have the right to be happy. But Emma also has rights. She deserves to have both parents present in her life. I agree. That's why I'm being honest with you now. I want us to find a way to make this work for all of us. How? If you move to New York City and I stay here, how does that work for Emma? I thought maybe you could move to New York City too. After some time, once I'm settled there. David sat back down beside Jennifer. And what if I don't want to move? What if I like the life we have here? Then we'll have to find another way to make it work. That night, David lay awake for hours, staring at the bedroom ceiling. Jennifer slept beside him, but he knew she was pretending too. The weight of the night's revelations made it impossible to relax. Around 3 in the morning, he heard small footsteps in the hallway. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching her doll. Daddy, can I sleep here with you? Of course, sweetheart. Come here. Emma squeezed between them in bed. Within minutes, she was fast asleep. David looked at Jennifer and realized she was awake, watching their daughter. David, Jennifer whispered. What? I love you both. No matter what happens, that will never change. I love you too, Jennifer, and that's why this hurts so much. I know, it hurts me too. The next morning, David woke to Emma playing with his hair. Daddy, it's Saturday. Can we make pancakes? It was a family tradition. Every Saturday morning, David made pancakes while Jennifer prepared fresh orange juice and Emma picked the fruit toppings. Of course, sweetheart, let's wake up, Mommy. But when David turned, Jennifer wasn't in bed. He heard noises from the kitchen. Mommy's already up, Daddy. She's making coffee. David and Emma went downstairs to find Jennifer preparing breakfast. She wore one of the aprons she'd received as a wedding gift and looked more relaxed than she had in weeks. Good morning, Princess, Jennifer said, kissing Emma's forehead. Good morning, Mommy. Are we making pancakes today? Of course. Want to help Daddy mix the batter? As David and Emma made the pancakes, Jennifer sliced fruit and squeezed juice. For a moment, it felt like nothing had changed, just another normal family Saturday. Daddy, why do you look sad? Emma asked, watching David stir the batter. I'm not sad, sweetheart. Yes, you are. You always make that face when you're worried about something. Jennifer stopped slicing and looked at David. Emma, can you go pick the cartoon you want to watch after breakfast? Suggested Jennifer. Can I watch 2 hours today since it's Saturday? Yes, you can. Emma ran excitedly to the living room, thrilled at the prospect of watching TV longer than usual. David, we need to talk more calmly about all this, said Jennifer. I know, but I just wanted us to enjoy a family breakfast without any guilt. I want that too. When the pancakes were ready, the three sat at the table. Emma ate 2 whole pancakes and drank a large glass of orange juice. Daddy, after the cartoon, can we go to the park? Of course, sweetheart. Will Mommy come too? David looked at Jennifer, who nodded with a smile. Yes, Emma. At the park, David pushed Emma on the swing while Jennifer sat on the bench watching them. Other families were around, children running and playing, parents chatting while keeping an eye on their kids. "Higher, Daddy! Higher!" Emma shouted, laughing loudly. David pushed her harder, and Emma giggled with joy. It was a sound he hadn't heard in weeks. "Mommy, come push me too," Emma called. Jennifer walked over and stood on the other side of the swing. "Now both of you push at the same time." David and Jennifer coordinated their movements, taking turns pushing Emma. The little girl laughed so much that other kids at the park started noticing their game. "Now I want to go on the slide," Emma announced, jumping off the swing. She ran toward the play structure, and David and Jennifer followed. They stood on either side of the slide, catching Emma each time she came down. "Again, again," she demanded, climbing the steps quickly. After half an hour of playing, Emma declared she wanted a picnic on the grass. "But we didn't bring any food, sweetheart," said David. "We don't need food, we can have a talking picnic." They sat in a circle on the grass under a big tree. "What should we talk about?" Jennifer asked. "Happy things," Emma declared. "Daddy, say something happy." David thought for a moment. "One happy thing is seeing you laugh and play, Emma." "Now, Mommy." Jennifer looked at David and Emma. "One happy thing is being here with both of you right now." "Now me," Emma said excitedly. "One happy thing is when both of you smile at the same time, because then I know everything's okay." Emma's words left David and Jennifer silent. The little girl had a simple yet profound way of seeing the world. "Emma, can I ask you a serious question?" Jennifer said. "Sure, Mommy." "If Daddy and I lived in different cities, but you could still see both of us all the time, would that be very bad for you?" Emma thought carefully before answering. "It would be a little bad because I'd want you all to live in the same place as me, but if you were happy, then I'd be happy too." David felt a tightness in his chest. Emma was being incredibly mature for a 5-year-old. "And if you could choose, where would you want to live?" he asked. "I'd want to live where both of you are, with a park to play in, and Grandma Margaret nearby to make cookies." Jennifer and David exchanged glances. Grandma Margaret was David's mother, who lived 2 streets away from their house. Emma was very close to her grandmother, who watched her some afternoons when David and Jennifer worked. "Grandma Margaret is really important to you, isn't she?" Jennifer said. "Super important. She teaches me how to make cookies and always has fun stories to tell." David realized he hadn't considered how moving to New York City would affect Emma's relationship with her grandmother. Margaret was 67 and Emma was her only granddaughter. "Sweetheart, how about we go visit Grandma Margaret now?" David suggested. "Can I tell her about the pancakes today?" "You can tell her whatever you want." On the way to Margaret's house, Emma chattered from the back seat about all the fun she had at the park. David drove in silence while Jennifer stared out the window. "Jennifer," David said quietly so Emma wouldn't hear, "have you thought about what moving to New York City would mean for Emma's relationship with my mom?" "I have. But New York City isn't on the other side of the world, David. They can still stay close." "Not the same way. Emma spends almost every weekend with my mom. They have a very special bond. I know that. But sometimes life requires sacrifices." "Whose sacrifices, Jennifer? Because to me, it seems like everyone will have to give something up so you can chase your dreams." Jennifer fell silent, and David realized he might have been too harsh. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound cruel. No, you're right. I'm being selfish, but I don't know how else to handle this, David." When they arrived at Margaret's house, the silver-haired woman with a warm smile greeted Emma with a tight hug. "My beautiful granddaughter, look how big you've gotten." "Grandma, today we made pancakes and went to the park, and Daddy pushed me really high on the swing. How wonderful. Did you come to have lunch with Grandma?" David glanced at Jennifer, who nodded. "If it's not too much trouble, Mom." "Trouble? Nonsense. I was already making lasagna for you. I always cook too much, hoping you'll stop by." During lunch, Margaret noticed something off in the air between David and Jennifer. "You two are awfully quiet today. Everything all right?" Emma, focused on her lasagna, looked up. "Grandma, Daddy, and Mommy have been kind of sad lately." "Oh? And why is that?" David and Jennifer exchanged glances, unsure how to respond. "They keep talking about some boring papers," Emma added innocently. Margaret, with the wisdom of her 67 years, understood immediately. Emma, sweetheart, why don't you go play in the backyard while I talk to Daddy and Mommy? Can I feed the chickens? Of course, the can is in the usual spot. Once Emma left, Margaret turned to her son and daughter-in-law with a serious expression. Are you two thinking about separating? David sighed. Mum, things are complicated between us. Complicated how? Don't you love each other anymore? It's not that simple, Mrs. Jenkins, Jennifer said. Sometimes love isn't enough. Jennifer, dear, let me tell you something I learned in 45 years of marriage. Every relationship goes through rough patches. The secret is not to make permanent decisions during them. David looked at his mother curiously. Mum, you and Dad never fought. Margaret laughed. David, you were a child. Of course you didn't see when we argued. There was a time your father and I slept in separate rooms for nearly 6 months. Really? Really? He wanted to move to Chicago for a job opportunity, and I didn't want to leave Charlotte. We fought badly over it. Jennifer was intrigued. How did you work it out? By talking a lot, seeking advice from people with more experience, and most of all, remembering what truly mattered in life. In the end, your father gave up the opportunity and stayed here. He never regretted it. But what if he had regretted it? Jennifer asked. Then we would have found another way to handle it. What mattered was that at that moment, family came first. David reflected on his mother's words. Mom, but every situation is different. Maybe it's time for Jennifer and me to go our separate ways. Margaret looked firmly at her son. David, can I ask you something? Do you still love Jennifer? I do. And you, Jennifer? Do you still love David? Jennifer hesitated for a moment. I don't know anymore, Mrs. Margaret. Everything is so confusing in my head. So you're not sure you don't love him anymore? You're just confused? Maybe. Have you two tried professional help, couples therapy? David and Jennifer exchanged glances. No, Mom. We never thought about that. Well, you should. You have a beautiful daughter who loves you both. It's worth trying everything before giving up. At that moment, Emma came running in from the backyard. Grandma, the chickens ate all the corn. They were so hungry. That's great, sweetheart. Now they'll lay big eggs. Emma climbed onto Margaret's lap. Grandma, can you teach Mommy and Daddy how to make those cinnamon cookies? Of course. How about we make some now? The afternoon was spent in Margaret's kitchen, with everyone baking cookies together. Emma was in charge of mixing the ingredients. David cut the dough with cookie cutters, and Jennifer and Margaret decorated them. Mommy, look how pretty mine turned out, Emma said, holding up a star-shaped cookie. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Can I give one to Daddy to try? Of course. Emma handed the cookie to David, who ate it with exaggerated delight. This is the tastiest cookie I've ever had, Emma giggled, pleased with the praise. When the cookies were done, Margaret packed a little bag for Emma to take home. Thank you, Grandma. Can I come back tomorrow to make more? Of course, sweetheart. Grandma always has time to bake cookies with you. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. On the way home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat, hugging her bag of cookies. David, Jennifer said softly, your mom is right about couples therapy. Would you be willing to try it? I think so. Before making any final decisions. What about the job offer in New York City? I'll ask Rebecca for some time. Explain that I need to sort out personal matters before moving. David felt a relief he hadn't known in weeks. Jennifer, I want you to be happy. If that means moving to New York eventually, we'll find a way to make it work. And I want you to know I never meant to hurt you or Emma. I just felt lost these past few months. When they got home, David carried Emma to her room. She woke briefly as he tucked her in. Daddy, today was a really good day. It was for me too, sweetheart. Will tomorrow be good too? We'll do our best to make it so. Emma smiled and closed her eyes again. That night, David and Jennifer stayed up late talking in the living room. For the first time in months, they spoke openly about their fears, expectations, and dreams. "David, I need to tell you about Rebecca," Jennifer said. "You don't have to go into details if you don't want to." "No, I want to be honest. She's been calling me almost every day for 3 weeks. At first it was just about the job, but then the conversations got more personal." Is there something between you? Not physically, but emotionally. I felt a connection I haven't felt in a long time. David took a deep breath before answering. "Jennifer, I can't pretend that doesn't hurt. But I understand you're going through a hard time." "You really understand?" "I'm trying to. And I'm willing to fight for our marriage if you are too." Jennifer took David's hand. "I want to try, David. For us, for Emma, and because deep down, I know what we have is special, even if I've forgotten that lately." The following Monday, David called a family therapy clinic a co-worker had recommended. He managed to book a session for Thursday. During the week, there was a subtle shift in the atmosphere of the house. Jennifer was more present in family conversations, and David made an effort to listen more to his wife's feelings. Emma noticed the difference and commented during Wednesday's dinner, "Daddy and Mommy seem happier today." "What makes you say that, sweetheart?" asked David. "You're looking at each other again. These past few days, you weren't." Jennifer and David laughed at their daughter's sharp observation. "You're very clever, Emma," said Jennifer. "Ms. Peterson said I'm observant. Is that the same thing?" "It's similar, yes." On Thursday, David and Jennifer left Emma with Margaret and went to their first couples therapy session. The psychologist, Dr. Susan, was a woman in her 50s with a calm and welcoming presence. "Can you tell me what brought you here?" David looked at Jennifer, who signaled for him to start. "We were about to get divorced last week, but our daughter, she made us rethink some things." "How so?" Jennifer continued the explanation. "Our daughter showed up at the attorney's office just as my husband was about to sign the divorce papers, and she begged him not to." "And how did you feel in that moment?" "Devastated," they both answered at the same time. Dr. Susan took notes and continued. "Can you tell me about the main issues in your relationship?" Jennifer talked about her professional dissatisfaction, the feeling of wasting her life, and the situation with Rebecca. David spoke about how he felt rejected and confused by Jennifer's changes. "Jennifer, you said you feel like you're wasting your life. Can you elaborate?" "I'm 32, and I feel like I haven't accomplished anything I dreamed of when I was younger. I married young, had a child young, and ended up settling into a life that doesn't challenge me. And David, how do you feel hearing that? I feel like our whole life together has been a mistake, like I've held her back in some way. Do you see how you're interpreting the situation in very polarized ways? Jennifer, you're viewing your entire life as a mistake. David, you're taking full responsibility for Jennifer's feelings." The session lasted an hour and a half, and at the end, Dr. Susan gave them some homework. "I'd like each of you to make a list of 3 things you love about the other, and 3 things you'd like to change in the relationship. I also want you to set aside 30 minutes each day to talk. No TV, no phones, just the 2 of you." Over the following week, David and Jennifer dedicated themselves to the tasks. The daily conversations at first felt a little forced, but gradually became more natural. At the next session, they shared their lists. David's list: things I love about Jennifer. 1. Her intelligence and determination. 2. The loving way she takes care of Emma. 3. Her ability to make me laugh even in tough moments. David's list: things I'd like to change. 1. More communication about feelings and frustrations. 2. More willingness to find solutions together. 3. Less criticism about our current life. Jennifer's list: things I love about David. 1. His patience and kindness. 2. His dedication to the family. 3. The way he makes everything lighter and more fun. Jennifer's list: things I'd like to change. 1. More support for my career ambitions. 2. More initiative for change and new experiences. 3. Less complacency with routine. Dr. Susan reviewed the lists with them. Do you see that the things you love about each other are very important qualities for a healthy relationship? David and Jennifer nodded. And do you also see that the things you'd like to change are issues that can be worked on? How? Asked Jennifer. For example, David, you can support Jennifer's professional ambitions more by asking about her dreams, encouraging her job applications, helping to take care of Emma when she needs to focus on a project. David reflected on the suggestion. I really can do that. I think sometimes I got worried about the changes and ended up being discouraging without realizing it. And Jennifer, you can communicate your frustrations more clearly and directly without letting resentment build up. That's true. I was afraid of hurting David, so I ended up keeping everything inside until I exploded. Now, about the career question. Jennifer, are you still interested in the position in New York City? Jennifer hesitated. I am, but now I understand there are ways to handle this without destroying our family. Like what? I could negotiate to start the job in a few months, giving David time to plan too, or I could look for similar opportunities here in the area. David was surprised by Jennifer's flexibility. Jennifer, if this opportunity is really important to you, I can try looking for work in New York City too. Really? Really? It might not be easy, but I can try. Dr. Susan smiled. You're starting to work as a team again. That's very positive. The therapy sessions continued for 2 months. During that time, several things changed in the couple's life. Jennifer had an honest talk with Rebecca, explaining she was working on her marriage and needed time to make big decisions. Rebecca, who had been married for 20 years before divorcing, understood the situation and offered her friend support. David began researching job opportunities in New York City and found several private schools looking for math teachers with his experience. They also established new family traditions like special weekly dinners and different weekend outings. Emma noticed all the changes and often commented, "Now you're looking at each other again, and you're smiling more." One day during a family trip to the New York City Zoo, Jennifer made an unexpected suggestion. David, what if we walked around some neighborhoods to get a better sense of where we might live if we moved here? David was surprised but excited. You'd like that? I would. I want to see if I can picture us living here with Emma. They spent the rest of the day visiting different neighborhoods, talking about schools for Emma, commute times, and cost of living. Emma was thrilled about the possibility of moving. Daddy, if we move to New York City, can Grandma Margaret come live with us? David and Jennifer laughed. Sweetheart, Grandma has her own house and friends. She wouldn't want to move. But then, how will I bake cookies with her? We can visit her on weekends and she can come see us too. Emma thought about it. Okay, but I want her to see our new house when we move. On the drive back to Charlotte, Jennifer said, David, I could picture us living in New York City with Emma. For the first time in months, I could see a future with our family together. And how did that feel? Good. Scared, but good. Scared why? Because it's a lot of changes at once. A new job, a new city, rebuilding our marriage. But do you think it's worth trying? I do. 3 weeks later, David got an unexpected call. It was from a private school in New York City, where he had submitted his resume. Mr. David, this is the office at Washington Academy. We'd like to speak with you about a math teacher position. David's heart raced. Of course. When would be convenient? Could you come for an interview next Thursday? David looked at Jennifer, who was standing beside him in the kitchen. Yes, I can. After hanging up, David told Jennifer about the call. David, this is a sign, said Jennifer excitedly. You really think so? I do. Everything is falling into place. Emma, who was playing in the living room, overheard the conversation and came running. What's a sign? Sweetheart, Daddy might get a job in New York City too, Jennifer explained. Like Mommy's job. Similar, he'd be a teacher at a school there. Emma clapped her hands. That's so cool. Then we can all live together in a new house. David's interview went very well. The school principal was impressed by his experience and references and offered him the position the same day. Professor David, we'd like you to start with us next semester. The salary is 40% higher than what you're currently earning. David could hardly believe what he was hearing. I accept, but I'll need a few weeks to get everything in order. No problem. We'll expect you in February. When David told Jennifer and Emma about getting the job, they all celebrated. Daddy did it, Daddy did it, Emma shouted, jumping around the house. Jennifer hugged David tightly. I'm so proud of you. So now what? Are we really doing this? We are. Together. That night, after Emma fell asleep, David and Jennifer stayed up talking about their plans for the move. Jennifer, I need to ask you something important. What is it? Are you sure you want to try again with me? Not just because of Emma or the move, but because you really want to be married to me. Jennifer looked into David's eyes. David, these months of therapy reminded me why I fell in love with you, and they made me realize that many of our problems came from poor communication, not a lack of love. What about Rebecca? Rebecca helped me see I was unhappy, but that doesn't mean she was the solution. The solution was here, in working on our relationship. David sighed in relief. I love you, Jennifer, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you. I love you too, David, and I want us to build a new life, together. They kissed for the first time in months, a kiss full of hope and new beginnings. The next day, David called the attorney who had been handling their divorce papers. Attorney Sarah, it's David. I'd like to cancel the divorce proceedings. Cancel? Are you sure? Absolutely sure. Very well, I'll take care of the cancellation today. When David hung up, Emma appeared in the living room. Daddy, what were you talking about on the phone? Just some boring paperwork, sweetheart. The papers you didn't sign because of me? David knelt down to Emma's level. Emma, do you know how important you were in helping Daddy and Mommy remember we love each other? I know, I always knew you loved each other even when you forgot. How did you know? Because you were sad when the other was sad. People who don't love each other don't get sad like that. David was amazed by his daughter's wisdom. You're really smart, you know that? Grandma Margaret always says so. Speaking of Margaret, David decided it was time to tell his mother about their plans to move. She was sad at first, but then happy about their reconciliation. Mom, New York City isn't that far, and you can visit whenever you want. And you can come here for holidays, said Margaret. What matters is that you're together and happy. Won't you be too lonely? David, I'm 67, but I'm not some helpless old lady. I have my friends, my church, my activities. I'll miss you, of course, but I'll be happy knowing you're all right. Emma, who was listening to the conversation, had an idea. Grandma, you could get a boyfriend so you won't be alone. Margaret laughed loudly. What kind of idea is that, Emma? Miss Peterson said her grandma got a boyfriend after her grandpa went to heaven, and now they're getting married. Oh my goodness, Margaret laughed. Do you think I need a boyfriend? I do. Someone to bake cookies with you when I'm not here. David and Jennifer chuckled at Emma's innocent suggestion. The next 2 months were intense. David and Jennifer put the house up for sale, looked for an apartment in New York City, organized the move, and said goodbye to friends and co-workers. Emma was excited about the move, but also a little anxious. Mom, do you think I'll make new friends in New York City? Of course you will, sweetheart. You're such a loving girl. Everyone will want to be your friend. What if I don't like the new school? If you don't, we'll talk to the teachers to see how we can make it better. What if I miss Grandma Margaret? We'll call her every day and visit whenever we can. A week before the move, they threw a farewell party at the house. Margaret made a huge batch of cookies, the neighbors brought food, and David's co-workers came to say goodbye. Emma was glowing with all the attention. Daddy, look how many people came. That's right, sweetheart. It's because so many people love our family. During the party, their neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, a 70-year-old lady who always chatted with Emma by the gate, gave the girl a special gift. Emma, this is a photo album for you to keep memories of your new home. Thank you, Mrs. Jenkins. I'll put lots of pictures in it. And I want you to send letters to Aunt Jenkins telling me about your new life. I will, and when you come visit, I'll show you all the cool places in New York City. On their last day in Charlotte, David woke up early and stood by the bedroom window, gazing out. This was the house where Emma had taken her first steps, spoken her first words, where he and Jennifer had shared the happiest moments of their marriage. Jennifer woke up and noticed David feeling nostalgic. Having second thoughts? No. Just remembering everything we lived through here. They were good years, weren't they? Most of them, yes. Emma appeared in the room already dressed and excited. Daddy, Mommy, today's the day. We're going to New York City. Yes, we are, sweetheart. The move went smoothly. The apartment they had chosen was in a family-friendly neighborhood, with 3 bedrooms, 2 parking spots, and a leisure area with a pool and playground. Emma, look at the beautiful room you'll have, Jennifer said, showing her the bedroom that overlooked a small courtyard in the building. It's so pretty, Mom. Can I decorate it however I want? Of course. Tomorrow we'll go shopping to pick out things for your room. David was setting up their bed when Emma appeared at the door. Daddy, are you happy? Very happy, sweetheart, and you? I'm happy too. But I miss Grandma Margaret a little. It's normal to miss her, Emma. We'll call her soon to tell her how the move went. Can I call her now? Of course. Emma talked to Margaret for almost half an hour, describing every detail of the new apartment, the playground, the pool, and the neighbors she had already met in the elevator. After the call, David and Jennifer sat on the living room sofa, watching Emma play with her dolls on the new rug. David, do you think we made the right choice? Jennifer asked. I think we made the only choice possible, the choice to fight for our family. What if it doesn't work out? It will, Jennifer, because now we know how to talk, how to ask for help when we need it, and we know that love needs to be nurtured every day. Emma looked at her parents and smiled. Daddy, Mommy, you're looking at each other again. David and Jennifer laughed. Yes, sweetheart, and we hope we never stop looking at each other. 6 months later, the family had fully adjusted to their new life. David loved working at Washington Academy. Jennifer had been promoted twice at her new company. And Emma was one of the most popular kids at school. Margaret had visited New York City 3 times and was enchanted by the apartment and the family's happiness. David, you all seem different. Lighter, happier, Margaret remarked during one of her visits. It's true, Mom. We've learned so much these past few months. And Emma has grown into such a young lady. She's gotten so tall. Emma, who was listening, ran to her grandmother's lap. Grandma, did you bring the cookies? I sure did. And I have some news to share. What news? David and Jennifer asked. I've got a boyfriend. Emma clapped her hands excitedly. I knew it. I told you Grandma needed a boyfriend. David was surprised but happy. Mom, tell us more. His name is Walter. He's been a widower for 3 years. He's 69, and I met him at church. He loves cooking and has already baked cookies with me twice. That's wonderful, Grandma. When do we get to meet him? Emma asked. Next time you visit Charlotte, I'll introduce you. That night, after Margaret went to sleep in the guest room and Emma was tucked in, David and Jennifer stayed on the apartment balcony, gazing at the city lights. David, do you remember the day you were going to sign the divorce papers? How could I forget? It was the day that changed our lives. Do you think if Emma hadn't shown up at the office, we would have signed them? David thought for a moment. Honestly, I think so. I was so lost and hurt, I probably would have signed. I think I would have too. I was so convinced the problem was our marriage. And it wasn't. It wasn't the marriage itself. It was the lack of communication, the lack of shared dreams, the unwillingness to grow together. David took Jennifer's hand. Jennifer, I want to thank you. For what? For agreeing to try again. For stepping out of your comfort zone with me. For giving our love a second chance. I should be thanking you, David. For being patient with me when I was lost. For agreeing to move to New York City. For never giving up on us. They kissed, a kiss full of gratitude and hope. David? Yes? I love you, truly, completely. I love you too, Jennifer, forever. In the next room, Emma slept soundly, hugging her favorite doll. In her dreams, she saw her family united, happy, and full of love. And that's how a family on the verge of falling apart found their way back to love, through a child's innocence, the wisdom of elders, professional help, and most of all, the courage to fight for what truly matters in life. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story of resilience and love. Do you believe David and Jennifer made the right choice in fighting for their marriage? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.